Hey, welcome back to Aircraft Adventures. I'm Liam Locke, and we're back in the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 edition. The latest update, which I believe this includes Sim Update 3, I think version 114.5.0, in a brand new airport from Just Sim, Stuttgart International, which I love. I have flown in and out of this airport numerous times. I love the scenery. I love this region of Germany. Certainly some iconic structures in and around this airport. If you've flown into here or out of here, inevitably you will recognize many of the landmarks surrounding this airport. As I said, a beautiful area. Today we are going to be flying from Stuttgart to Paris, France, to Charles de Gaulle International Airport. Or I think they actually just call it Charles de Gaulle Airport. And rather than fly in an Air France branded aircraft, which is probably more appropriate for this flight, I've got KLM loaded up down here on the tarmac in our Airbus A320neo. Again, with the latest development edition of the A32NX add-on, which just brings so much to the aircraft. The work they're doing is outstanding to continue to model the systems of the aircraft and you know, bring it closer and closer to you know, if you will, study level. You know, just enabling all the systems. So it makes it a lot of fun to actually fly. We are at the gate. We're going to go ahead and go through our startup procedure. So I am going to fly this flight today, no prep. I have not departed out of Stuttgart yet, and I don't think in the Microsoft Flight Simulator that I've landed at Charles de Gaulle yet. So we're going to fly this cold. I do have my flight plan filed with SimBrief, so we've got all the information we need to go ahead and get this aircraft started up, get our flight management computer programmed, and get ourselves on the way. So we'll go ahead and hop back in the aircraft here. And we'll get things going. Just spot check real quick. So engines are off. We're in the normal position. Throttle's at idle, landing gear is down, yes. Go up here and take a look at the wipers. Wipers are off, that is all good. Go ahead and get our batteries turned on in aircraft. And while that is going, get my checklist up here so I can see what I have. I do work from a custom checklist, not a normal checklist. Going through the FCOM, I've kind of assembled my own list of things to do, as well as you know, watching other YouTube videos out there from various knowledgeable pilots who actually fly the Airbus A320. I've tried to incorporate a lot of those things into my startup procedure so that we do things relatively correctly. I do kind of walk through this process every single time, just kind of as muscle memory for myself. So feel free to speed up if you've seen me do this process numerous times, and get right into the flight. But we're going to walk through the startup procedure. So we do have the batteries turned on right now. This gives us the radio control. Now, something that fly-by-wire is in the process of adding, which I would love to use, is one of the first things I do after I get the aircraft batteries turned on is I want to get the jetway connected, and I want to get ground power actually connected up to the aircraft, just for the sake of, you know, simulation, you know, immersion. But let's take a look here at this fly pad. Now, this is a new feature that the fly-by-wire folks have added, and I have seen or heard that they are going to be adding some capability to work with the grounds. Oh, this looks like it might have it. So I can possibly now control the jetway and ground power from this flight pad. Passengers, door, no, fuel. I don't want that. Where's jetway? Door alt, call tug, pushback, fuel. I'm going to go with door. Door? Door green. Door green. Does that mean you opened up my door? What did you do? Oh snap! Look at that! That is awesome! The door opened without the jetway actually moving towards the aircraft. That is killer! We're starting to get some of the... It's such a silly feature, but you know what? If you've flown in FSX or X-Plane 11, you have grown accustomed to being able to control the doorways and the you know, the luggage compartments and all of these various aspects of the aircraft that you kind of lost when we came to Microsoft Flight Simulator. So that is really cool. Now, I've got the door open. How do I get the jetway connected? So one of these should be for jetway. So maybe passengers, in order to get passengers on board, we would have to have a jetway maybe? Hey, look at that. Very cool. So jetway is connecting up to the aircraft. I love it because I don't have to go through air traffic control and listen to that ridiculous back and forth communication of controlling the grounds crew. It's just, it gets so old and it just doesn't seem very realistic. But this is great. So now the jetway's connected. Looks beautiful. Look at that. Nice connection, nice solid connection to the aircraft. Love that completely. Outstanding. Oh, the simple pleasures. Now we can also do external power. So instead of going to ATC, let's do external power. Oh, I hear the truck starting up. There it is. Yes, and we have power connection. So now we can actually go about our normal startup. This is a great addition. I love this. Thank you so much. Looks like I could start baggage. I could do a fuel call. Possibly I've got a rear door control now. Now that's kind of cool. So the aft door we could actually open and then call for catering separately. Nice. That's a nice touch. You can call the tug. We won't be using this. We'll be using the FS to crew pushback express, but still convenient, very convenient to have this built into the aircraft now. So big fan of that. All right, so we do have ground power where we want to get off a battery because we're probably chewing through some battery. Now I don't know if this has been modeled yet. We do have 28 volts in both batteries. We've been sitting here on battery for just a little bit. I would have thought we might have chewed away at that a little, but apparently not. But regardless, we're going to go to external power, but I want to look at one more thing because the electrical page in the cockpit on the ECAM has actually been updated as well. Now, why am I not seeing the screens yet? I guess I'm not seeing the screens because we're on battery power. That would make sense rather than chewing up all of our battery. So we'll go back up top, turn on our external power. Screens come to life, of course. And now we'll take a look at that electrical page here in just a moment. Now while we're waiting for those screens to initialize, here they go. So let's just spin the brightness up on these. Electrical. I wanted to show the battery connectivity. I'm going to figure out a way. I think you can turn these screens on in advance, or at least one of them. But now notice that we're connected up to external power, and it's what's powering the various buses in the aircraft. Nice, very nice. And when we put the APU on, that'll pop up right over here. So it's great that we can now track and monitor that. We can see, all right, the cabin door is open. That's expected. Very nice. Let's go ahead and continue with our startup procedures. Back up here, we want to get the nav light situated and get our internal flight deck lights turned on. And we'll go ahead and do our payload right now. We want to knock that out. And for this flight today, let me get my notes up. For our flight plan, I'll give you a quick glimpse of that. I'd like to go through this process. So here's our flight plan. Right, Stuttgart to Paris Charles de Gaulle. Today's fuel is going to be 5.3, 5.4 tons of fuel with an alternate fuel quantity of 0.9 and reserve of 1 ton. So we'll drop that into our fuel here momentarily. We'll take a quick look at the weight before we leave this page. For weight today, 17.1 tons, 164 passengers on board. No cargo to speak of, so it's all passengers and luggage. And we'll take this information, we'll go back into the aircraft, and now we'll set up our fuel. Now we're going to switch over here to kilograms. That's what we're working with. And for current fuel, sitting at 9.5 tons. So we're going to drop that down. We said 5.4. And this puts us to 5.5. That looks pretty good. We'll stick with that. We'll adjust our passenger load. So payload is currently at 9.1. We need to go to 17.1. 17.2. That's going to work perfect. We are out of balance, right? Our center of gravity is too far forward, 15.76%. So we're going to shift some of this back. Looks good. Puts us at 22.09% center of gravity. Everything's in tolerance, so that completes our fuel and payload. Since we have our center of gravity, we'll immediately go down here and look at the trimmable horizontal stabilizer. We'll bring that back to in the neighborhood of 22.09. For our purposes, this looks, we'll go with this. This looks pretty good. And that gives us 0.9 up, 0.9. And we'll go up here and get ready to turn the APU on. Do a quick APU fire test. Very well. APU master switch right here. Make that easier to see. So APU master switch. Wait about 3 seconds, or you can monitor the ECAM for flap open. Then do your APU start. And while the APU gets fired up, go ahead and get our cockpit lights situated. Too far. Looks good. Get our standby altimeter brightened up here. Alright, and we've already adjusted the ECAM pages. They are bright. We'll get our CDUs updated, or not updated, but the brightness turned up on them as well. Alright, we'll get our floodlights turned on temporarily. We'll probably turn these off for flight. Looks good. This is fine. Go over to the first officer's seat. Do the same with his primary flight display and navigation display. Everything looks good. Turn this flight control page off for a moment. Go back over here. With that done, we'll take a look at the brake. Right, so brake is currently set on. Pressure gauges all look normal. The accumulator looks fine. Take a look at our flaps. So flaps show retracted on the ECAM page. Flap handle agrees, retracted. Speed brake is not armed. Ground spoiler retracted. Probe window heat is set for automatic. APU has been running now for a couple of minutes. So we can go back up to overhead console. We can see here probe window heat is auto automatically. We don't need to do anything with this, but we will turn on the APU bleed. And then I have in my procedure to go down and look at the engine information. So everything is in the green. No issues with the, of course we don't have any pressure right yet, because the engines aren't started, so that's normal. Now we'll move up top to the overhead console again, get the crew oxygen turned on, and get our ADDS, our Air Data Inertial Reference System, initialized. Learned recently that these are not in 1, 2, 3 order. They're in 1, 2, and then 3. And that's typically the order that you're going to turn them on. Too far. Put that in nav. Good to go there. Go down here and get our strobe light in the auto position. Get our seatbelts turned on. No smoking lights turned on. Get our emergency exit lights armed and ready to go. Don't need any anti-ice at the moment, or wing or engine anti-ice. Cabin pressure mode is already set to automatic. Landing elevation is auto, yep. Zone temperature knobs, so we'll just leave those where they are. Go ahead and do all of our fuel pumps and get those situated. Do our engine fire tests. Our cargo smoke fire test. Okay. And then cross bleed is auto, so no change there. And at this point, we'll go ahead and get our EDDS weather information. Fortunately, we have to use, actually we don't have to use, so I could just get the EDDS frequency and program that in myself rather than use the built-in air traffic control, which we could do that, right? We've got Navigraph up. Navigraph gives us all of our comm information. So Stuttgart, show you Navigraph here. So in Navigraph, when you select the airport, you'll get this open charts list, and it'll pop up the airport. We go over here to comms and get our EDDS frequency, so 126, 130. 30 EDDS. And now we'll hop back into the aircraft and just manually set that ourselves.
Airport information Alpha 11000. Wind 209er at 17. Visibility 6 and heavy rain. Sky condition: few clouds at 800 feet, few clouds at 4,400 feet, few clouds at 11,200 feet. Temperature 4. Dew point 10. QNH 29.65. ILS runway 25 and visual runway 25 in use. Landing and departing runway 25 and runway 25. DSR aircraft, say direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact. You have Alpha.
Alright, so we have our weather information. We have information Alpha. If you heard, the winds out of 209 at 17 knots. Visibility 6 statute miles with heavy rain. 3 cloud decks at 800, 4,400, 11,200 with a few clouds. Temperature 4 degrees outside, so it's a little chilly out there in Stuttgart, Germany today. We are flying with live weather in the sim. 10 degrees is the dew point. Barometric pressure 29er.65, 29er.65. Active runway 25 in use, so we've got all the information we need to continue with our setup. Let me return back to my checklist, my handy-dandy checklist. And with that information, we want to get right into the flight management computer. So I'm going to adjust the view here just a little bit, make this easier to see. So flight management computer, here's our aircraft and our engines. Current AirAC data is good to go, was recently updated by the Microsoft Asobo flight simulator folks. That is great that we've got current data. Go ahead and clear the notice down here at the bottom. We'll go right into the init page. Verify our from to is correct, and it is. Our alternate airport is, yes, LFPO. We'll drop that in. Don't expect really to use this, but good procedural thing to get in the habit of doing is what I'm going with, so we're going to do it. LFPO, verify flight number. We program that into Microsoft's setup page for this flight where we imported our SimBrief flight plan. Flight number is 4313, that is correct. Cost index today from the flight plan is 18. Cruise level is flight level 280, 28,000 feet. Good to go. From here, we'll take a look at our flight plan. Confirm we are departing from runway 25 from Stuttgart. So that's already set. We don't have any changes we need to apply currently to the flight plan, so we'll leave that alone. We'll go back into our NIT page and go to the second page, page 2, the B page, whatever you like to call it. Block fuel currently on board, 5.4 tons. We'll drop that in. And then we'll bring up our zero fuel weight and our zero fuel weight center of gravity. Just click on the right select, puts it in the scratch pad, drop it back in. Alright, just make a note here, 58.3, zero fuel weight with a center of gravity of 22.1. All good, 22.1 within tolerance, no issues there. I used to put in the reserve fuel, the route reserve fuel on this line, but if you do it, it just kind of blanks out this option. I'm not sure what's up with that. I'm just going to skip that step right now, but I am going to annotate what the alternate fuel amount was to get to LFPO. So Orly Airport, we put on an additional 0.9 tons of fuel. You can do that 0.9 or you can do 0.9. Either will work. That gets updated. No other changes that I typically make on this page. So from here, we could enter in potential navigational aids. There is a VOR that we can work with from Stuttgart for our departure today via our assigned SID. The SID, according to the flight plan that we received, is the ROT WE 5B SID to ROT WE waypoint. And I can bring that up here. Let me get that in Navgraph and I'll give you a quick look at that. Okay, so here is Navigraph, and this is the ROT WE 5B standard instrument departure. Here we are down here at the airport and the runway. Here's our VOR STG. We're heading out the 5B direction, so 25 is going to head out this way, 5B. We're going to go 16 nautical miles away from the STG VOR. On the reverse course of 72 degrees, which, what is that? It is 252. Okay, so I had to remember there's a little trick that you can do to get the reverse course real quick. So if we're heading out, if the course is 72 degrees and we want to get the reverse, we do this little trick with addition and subtraction where we add 2, subtract 2, right? So from the 100th position, you simply add 2, that gives me 2. From the 10th position, we minus 2, that gives me 5, and then we just carry the last degree. So from 72 to 252, 252 degrees is the reverse course. So that's what we're heading back out here, departing from Stuttgart on runway 25. So that's good to know. We have that information. Now that I've scribbled all over my scratch pad trying to get that figured out, we can move on. But what I'll do with that information And kind of why I went through this exercise is I don't think this is fully implemented yet in the flight management computer, but we could add in some additional some additional radio navigation data. So we'll put in the, let me go back here into the aircraft. So I just clicked on the radio navigation button on the CDU. I want to put in our VOR1 frequency, which for the Stuttgart VOR was 116.85. And we'll put in the course of 72 degrees. And this can help you with navigation. I haven't really seen it work yet in the fly-by-wire configuration, but we'll go through the exercise. Just at some point this will become available to us. Now we have that for reference. And if we look one more time at Navigraph, we want to get some additional pieces of information off of this, specifically the transition altitude. That's going to be 5,000. Look at our airport elevation is 1276. And then we'll see here, we'll look here. So here's the SID, ROT WE5B for runway 25. Here's our information saying that intercept is the STG VOR on the reverse radial, 252 degrees, and we're going to be traveling out 16 nautical miles from Stuttgart, and then we'll be turning left to intercept LBU, which is going to be another VOR. Oh yeah, here it is, VOR up here, LBU, on its reverse radial 226, making our way to our transition waypoint of ROT WE. So all the information I was just trying to figure out is right here in plain text for you. We just could have read it right off the page. Yeah, you live and learn. And then the other piece that I'm noticing at the moment here is our initial climb clearance is going to be 5,000 feet. So that's what we'll program into the MCP for our initial altitude, because we are not flying with air traffic control. And we're going to assume that they have cleared us for 5,000 feet before we start to climb towards our cruising altitude. All right, let's get back into the airplane. So we've got our VOR set up. And now we'll go back to performance, or we'll go to performance. Here's performance. Transition altitude, we'll change that first, 5,000 feet. Not 50,000 feet, how about 5,000 feet? See, our thrust reduction is at 2770. We noted that the airport elevation is 1276, so 1276 plus 1,500. Yes, plus 1,500 puts us at 2776. 2770 is close enough for our purposes, so we'll leave that set, but I am going to put 2770 over here for our engine out. No shift in runway departure. Flaps today, we'll do flaps 1 slash, this is where we put in our trimmable horizontal stabilizer setting. We said up at 0.9. We'll go ahead and use a flex temperature of 47 degrees. Do our D-rated takeoff. So this page is set. We just need to put in our V1 and V1 VR and V2 speeds by clicking on these buttons. Rotates 131, and V2 is at 135, and this completes our setup for the flight management computer. From here we'll go up top, we'll get our weather information dumped into the MCP, the APHIS panel, get this 2965. Get our flight director turned on. On APHIS panel, we'll get our constraints enabled. We did program something for VOR, so we're going to turn on VOR1, which is STG. You can see that pop up here on the navigation display. We won't change our range yet. Flight management computer, the MCP is set to work with the flight management computer. We got the dashes and the dots. 5,000 feet is our initial cleared altitude. That's good to go. Get the flight director turned over here on the first officer side as well. And if we wanted, we could put his VOR on as well. Okay, clock looks good. Current looks like, what does it say, 11:55? Let's go over here just a little bit. 11:55 local time. I actually think that's Zulu time. From here, verify that the anti-skid nose wheel steering is on. It is. Take another look at our thrust levers. They are in idle, which is what we expect. Go over here to our transponder and get it set up. We need to clear this out. Put in our transponder code for today. Turn this to auto. Get our altitude reporting turned on. Get our notifications looking at both above and below, as well as any local threat. Stay on standby for the moment until we back out of the gate. So at this point, passengers hopefully have boarded, wrapping up boarding. Cabin crew is getting things situated. Luggage should be fully loaded, and we are just about ready to push back. We probably need to take a look at the airport, just kind of make sure we know where we are and what direction we're going to be pushing back. So I'm going to hop back out to Navigraph for a brief moment, take a look at the airport. Activate my little plane identifier. So here is Navigraph. You can see that we are parked here at the terminal. We're going to runway 25, which is going to be back this way, runway 25. We've got a nice long runway, 10,974 feet, 3,345 meters. Plenty of room for takeoff. We shouldn't have any issues with takeoff. We are going to taxi, so we're going to back out and push it back to the right, make our way down. I'm going to go with taxiway S, as I think planes coming off the runway. No, scratch that. Looks like that's probably a holding area up there. How would they come off? If they're coming in 25, they're going to jump off right down here. I don't think we're going to have a lot of competition. We're just going to make our way down taxiway N, and then we'll get on down here at the end. P1 and the little staging area before we get onto the runway. So pretty easy taxi today at Stuttgart. That's our plan. Now we've got a new thing that I have added to my flight simulator. Another product from FS to Crew, the Flight Crew A320, which gives us some interaction with a co-pilot, helps us walk through the checklists, make sure that I've got everything situated before we start our pushback. And actually it goes through a whole number of checklists as we make our way through this flight on our way to Charles de Gaulle, including some cabin announcements, which is pretty cool. It's always fun to add that little additional touch to further build on the immersion, the experience of flying one of these big planes and pretending that you've got passengers on board, shuttling them from point A to point B. Always enjoyable. So at this point, I think I'm ready to start interacting with that checklist system. I'm going to look at my checklist real quick. I've done everything I need to do before we do pushback, so we'll just give the grounds crew a quick alert that pushback is imminently coming. Get yourself situated. Oh, look outside. Here is the rain again. We're going to go ahead and turn the beacon light on. And now, I think we're configured and ready to work with the checklist. So let's give it a shot and see how it works. FS to Crew, flight crew for the A320.
Before start checklist.
Cockpit prep.
Completed.
Completed. Gear pins and covers.
Removed.
Signs.
On and auto.
Adheres.
Adheres is check.
Nav.
Fuel quantity.
Set.
Takeoff data.
Set.
Barrel ref.
2965. Set.
2, 9, 6, 5. Set. Down to the line.
Below the line.
Windows and doors.
Closed.
Are you sure about that? Beacon.
Did you hear that? Okay, I like this. Windows and doors closed, and I said, or the pilot says closed, and he goes, "Are you sure about that?" Because the one thing that hasn't happened yet, we've got accustomed to using pushback express to start the pushback and actually detach the gate. So if I look at the doors, this is kind of comical. The cabin door is open. The jetway is still connected, which is why we got the, "Are you sure about that?" But it moved right on. So I'm trying, you're watching the first time that I'm actually using this. I have not read the manual at all. I mean, I've watched, I think, a couple YouTube videos about it, so I kind of know what it does. But that was kind of comical. So let's go ahead and address that problem. The cabin door is open. We want the jetway disconnected. We should be able to work with the little, our little EFB here. So we'll go ahead and close the door first. Now if I close the door first, will it let me do that? Doesn't look like it closed it. I did click on it. Let's get rid of the jetway first. No, that connected the jetway. Is there some trick to this that I'm not figuring out? Hold on, there's got to be a way to do this. It worked so great to connect. Let's disconnect external power, because I should be on APU. In fact, did I turn the external power off? I never did. We are running APU. So here, this is interesting. Let's just divert for one quick second. Look at our electrical. Notice that the electrical says that I have APU generator available to me, but I'm currently running off of the external power. If I disconnect the external power, we'll switch immediately over to the APU. So let's do that first. External power disconnected. Go back down here. Notice now we're running off the APU. External power is available, but we're not using it. So good. They haven't fully modeled the electrical page because we're not showing any load whatsoever, which wouldn't be correct. But that's minor. We're not going to worry about that. Let's go back over here and see now, can I get rid of external power? Oh, there it goes. It did work that time. Yo, dude, you left your cable. You forgot your cable. That can't be there when I take off. So he's crawling away from the aircraft. Hopefully that cable's gonna disappear. Not sure what's up with that. Oh, there it goes. So that did work. Now can we close the door before we disconnect the jetway? Close the door. Trying to be patient here. Don't think it did anything. We'll try again. Close the door. Nothing yet. How about we double click? No. Right click. Let's try getting rid of the jetway. Double. Oh. I think what'd I do? I don't think there's some trick. Oh, there it goes. Alright, so maybe I'm not being patient enough. The buttons don't seem to respond to just a single click. I feel like there's something I'm not getting. Let's get this door closed. It's like maybe 2 clicks in succession. Not like a fast double click, but like 2 clicks seems to do the opposite, causes them to disconnect. So now jetway's disconnected, doors closed, we should be situated and ready to go. I'm going to just go ahead and get myself in position a little early here. Alright, well that's good. I like working with that over the ATC. so we were working with the flight crew A320. He told us to check the doors. We've done that. Now let's see. What's next?
On.
Thrust levers.
Thrust levers are idle.
Idle.
Parking brake.
Set.
On.
Before start checklist complete.
Alright. Now we're at the engine start actions for this checklist. Again, I haven't worked with this. This is my first time working with it, so I'm not going to start that checklist because we need to do our pushback here first. So I know where I'm going. Beacon is on. We are ready to do a pushback and start. So we're going to interact with FS to Cruise Pushback Express for this next step. Flight deck to ground. What are you doing? Flight deck to ground. Why are you not working? Oh, I updated it. Damn it. Enable voice recognition. Yes. Reverse left and right tug. Yes. Every time you update the Pushback Express, you have to go back into your settings and reset them. Flight deck to ground.
Go ahead, flight deck.
Confirm all ground checks complete and we're cleared to pressurize the hydraulics.
All ground checks are complete and you are clear to pressurize the hydraulics.
So fun stuff. If we had that fully automated, we could pressurize the hydraulics. Nothing to do at this point but move on to the next step, and that is to initiate our pushback. Flight deck to ground.
Go ahead, flight deck.
We are ready for pushback and engine start.
Roger. Release the parking brakes, please.
Brakes released.
Pushing back.
So we set back and to the right. And if you don't have Pushback Express, hands down, one of the best add-ons that you can get from Microsoft Flight Simulator. Not a fan of the built-in pushback. I really like having full control over the tug, being able to steer the plane as it pushes back so I can get it into the alignment that I want for takeoff. This is what you want, and it's not pushing back yet, so it's connected to the aircraft. I'm sitting here. I'm ready to go. My brakes are not set, so what is Pushback Express doing? What is going on with my pushback here at Stuttgart? I wonder if the A320NX add-on over here, I wonder if this pushback hold, this stop button, is preventing the pushback from working. So the tug is in place. I would expect it to start pushing back the aircraft right now, but it hasn't, and it's not. And I think that's because we've got a conflict right now going on between the fly-by-wire mod for the A32NX and the Pushback Express, where the EFB has us in a stop for pushback. So if we go back in the aircraft and we look over here to the EFB, it's got pushback in this hand, right, the stop motion. I don't want to call the tug because I'm using Pushback Express for the tug, but I think I do need to click on this button here to release the aircraft. So there we go. Click the button. It's calling for the tug, which I don't want it to do. The tug is already connected, so I'm not sure what it's doing at the moment. We'll give it a second to get situated. Let me click on the hand one more time. I want you to go. Maybe I need to click back. So there, now it's going back. So maybe instead of the hand, which is the stop, maybe it's actually, I just had to allow the fly-by-wire to start pushing the aircraft back. So here, I do have control over the tug, so Pushback Express is in fact working, but it looks like it wasn't automatically starting to push back because of the EFB control over pushback capability as well. That might be something that needs to be worked out. I certainly don't want the fly-by-wire add-on interfering with Pushback Express. I shouldn't have to interact with both in order to affect my pushback. So we'll get situated here. Probably not the greatest pushback. We'll go ahead and stop here. Stop pushback.
Pushback complete. Set parking brakes, please.
Brake set.
Roger. Okay, the tow bar is disconnected and the equipment is clear. We will see you on the left side with the pin.
Thanks, and you can disconnect and go to hand signals.
Thanks. Have a good flight. See you later.
So we're good. They're backing off. Say goodbye to them. So we got some weirdness going on here with the interaction between the EFB and Pushback Express. Get back in position here. We are working with the Flight Crew A320. I already did click the button for engine to start. So before we do that, we're going to look up here. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the packs briefly. Go down here and get our engine start switch into ignition. Engine to start. Go up here and monitor our engines. So we have N2 rotation kicking in. Get up to the 20s, and we expect ignition down here. We have ignition, igniter A, and we should start to see exhaust gas temperature. There it goes. Now I already clicked the checklist item for engine to start in the Flight Crew A320. Alright, we got available. Looks like the parameters are stabilized. So let's acknowledge the checklist item up here in the A320 Crew.
Starting engine 1.
And now we're starting engine number 1. Engine 1 start.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board our flight today. This is the lead flight attendant speaking. Please direct your attention to the cabin crew for important safety information. There is an instruction card in your seat pocket that illustrates the safety equipment on this aircraft. Regulations require compliance with this information as well as all crew instructions, lighted information signs, and posted placards. Fasten your seatbelt by inserting the metal tip into the buckle. Tighten by pulling on the belt. To release your seatbelt, lift the metal flap on the buckle. It is our policy that you keep your seatbelt fastened at all times while seated. Doors are clearly marked with exit signs and instructions for door operation. Each door is equipped with an escape slide. Locate the exit nearest you. The nearest exit may be behind you. In an emergency, lights will illuminate the aisle. The cabin is pressurized. If there is a loss of cabin pressure, a panel will open and oxygen masks will appear. Remain seated with your seatbelt fastened and pull a mask toward you to start the flow of oxygen. Oxygen will be flowing to the mask even though the bag may not inflate. Cover your nose and mouth with the mask. Place the elastic band around your head and tighten by pulling on the end.
arms around the cushion and hold on to the straps located on the back. This is a non-smoking flight. Smoking is not permitted in the cabin or lavatory. Cabin lights will now be turned off. Reading light buttons are located above your seat. Thank you for your attention.
That's great. I love it. You know, it's such a silly element. It truly is, but you just don't understand when it comes to the immersion of working in one of these jet airliners. That's just a nice touch. It's welcomed, and I definitely appreciate that quality. It sounded great. Probably could tweak the volume just a little bit. But here we've got both engines started. Engine 1 started up. Parameters are stabilized. Everything is good to go and normal. We do have a warning here. We want to get our weather situated. Typically, now I'm not sure when technically the weather should be turned on. I know I've heard people talk about when you come in for a landing, you probably should turn the weather off once you're on the runway and taxiing. Had to recover from a crash to desktop. It does happen on occasion. It can be frustrating. Mine always seems to occur when I switch the weather radar on. That seems to be the most common time that I'll get a crash to desktop. I don't know why that is. But we're back where we were, relatively same time, same weather conditions. So engines are started, parameters are stabilized. Go back to our checklist and continue making sure we're ready to go. So engines are started. We can go back and turn the packs on. Packs turn back on. We'll turn the APU bleed pressure off. Not turn the APU off immediately. Give that a second. Do a quick flight control check. Aileron left, right, elevators down, up, left rudder, right rudder, flight controls check, that is good. Check our ground spoiler for takeoff, go ahead and get that armed and ready to go. Get the flaps into takeoff position. Flaps 1 today for takeoff. Get the engine mode put back to normal. We're getting ready to taxi. We'll go ahead and put this in traffic avoidance mode for the time being. Set our auto brake for takeoff as well. Auto brake max. Door page, just do quick verification. Doors are closed, slides are armed. Don't need any anti-ice. Currently we are at +1 degrees temperature outside. And here is where we encountered the crash to desktop the last time around, was with the weather radar. Now, I'm not going to turn it on quite yet. I'm going to skip that because we do have a warning over here about predictive wind shear being off. So I'm going to ignore that for the moment, and we are going to get ready to taxi. The other thing I want to do is, before we taxi, it should be on my list here. Let me go a little further down my list. So ground crew is clear. We want to get our taxi light turned on. Get our runway turn-off lights set up. Strobe remains off. We'll go ahead and turn the APU off at this time. We don't need the wing light to be on. And we'll turn off the interior lights. We're no longer communicating with the ground crew, so we can dim the cockpit. Go back down. We probably don't need, or we can turn down the floodlights as well, so we'll put those down to their lowest setting. Likewise here with the center console. And looks like I forgot to turn these lights on up here. Brighten up the MCP so we can see it a little easier. And at this point, we are ready to taxi, so we're going to go ahead and start taxiing down to runway 25, and we said we're going to go via taxiway N. So I'm going to go to Navigraph and just bring up the airport diagram. It's easier to taxi if you look at the airport diagram and activate the plane locator. I'll show you that. So here's Navigraph. You can see plane, and we're just going to go down taxiway N here, all the way down to runway 25 and get in position. Pretty easy taxi. We're going to turn that weather on here in just a moment. Looks like the rain is actually stopped outside. And we'll tell the cabin crew real quick also. Parking brakes off. Do a quick brakes check. Brakes check. Brakes are good. So we need to go to N, which looks like is going to be here off to the right. Alright, just glance down at our navigation display. Try and keep it around 20 knots. We got this van out here on the taxiway. It looks like another vehicle sitting on the taxiway, which this is a frustrating thing with the sim, that these vehicles will periodically just be on the taxiway for no apparent reason. And this vehicle here is stopped like it's waiting for me to get out of the way. And if you come to a stop, eventually the vehicle will move out of the way. We can play chicken all day long. I mean, I don't believe that the collision mechanism picks up the ground vehicles. I mean, it probably should, but I'm thankful that it doesn't, because here he goes. He's going to finally get out of the way. It's like, yeah, you can certainly navigate a little bit easier than I can. And this happens routinely in Sim, so it gets quite annoying. I don't think they have any business being out on the taxiway, but I don't really know that for certain. But he's going back the other way, so we'll continue on down to the runway. Now we've got this after start checklist. I'm curious what's on it. Let me go to this flight crew A320.
After start checklist.
Anti-ice.
Set.
ECAM status.
Checked.
Pitch trim.
24% set.
Rudder trim.
0.
After start checklist complete.
Alright, we did the flight control check already. Now another vehicle out here. What is this person doing? What is this? What the hell is this? Dude, where are you going? It just drove through me. Okay, we did the flight control check. What are you doing? I did the flight control check already. So the fly-by-wire, I'm sorry, the FS to crew flight crew A320 is looking for me to do a flight control check. Click to initiate the displayed action. Another van. Come on, guys. Really, really, Microsoft, get the vehicles off the taxiway. I mean, this is ridiculous. They need to move. You got a plane coming down a taxiway. Get off the taxiway. I'm pretty sure that the planes have right of way. There's no way for me to maneuver around a van on the center line of the taxiway. Honestly, it's a little ridiculous. It's quite annoying. So I gotta come to stop here. I'm gonna sit here. I can drive right through the guy. Absolutely. Yeah. Go. Honestly. Let's go, plane. I'm getting a little annoyed right now. Is that like 3 vehicles in a row on the taxiway? Alright, making our way down to runway 25 after being obstructed like 3 times. And I do monitor the Navigraph display so I can easily see where I am on the taxiways. I know when my turn might come up if I've got a connecting taxiway. It's just, it makes for easier navigation. Now look at this, look at these undulating taxiways. Now this is interesting. Are these like little hills? Look, the taxiway's getting all wobbly. What is this? This can't possibly be normal. What is going on here? There's no way that this is normal. Look at that elevation right there, that sharp change. So I was complimenting this airport and the work that they had done. It looks like there's something definitely not. Oh, hello. And wow. You know, I could have predicted that that was going to happen, so clearly we put a wing into the ground. That was nuts. Come on. Hey, welcome back to Aircraft Adventures. I'm Liam Locke. So, I've gone back to Stuttgart after the accident that I just had. Just going down the taxiway, and I want to go back over here and actually look at this taxiway. So recall that I was going down taxiway N here at this new airport, Stuttgart, and you know, it's kind of overcast outside, it's raining, we're making our way down, and you'll recall that I got blocked by 3 vehicles, and it was getting quite annoying actually. Come to find out, you know, those vehicles were actually trying to save us from the crash that we were about to inevitably have going down taxiway N at Stuttgart. Who could have possibly have known that? But I want you to look here at this taxiway. Now I'm going to get a little lower here with the drone. So we're going down the taxiway, and I remember looking at those snow clearing trucks over there to the left, right, as we were taxiing down. But watch, look further down. As we start to get down near the end of this taxiway, look at how all of a sudden it starts to undulate. The roads are, the edges curling up. The terrain is all starting to get very, very rough. All of a sudden, right, the edge of the taxiway, look at the center line. The edge of the taxiway is going higher and higher and higher with the roadway, until I ran the wing of the plane into the side of the taxiway. There's no way that I can come down here and navigate my plane up this crazy speed bump, if you will, in the center of the taxiway. I mean, even if I had turned early, what is going on with this taxiway? Well, this will be much better than the first time. I was so surprised as we were taxiing down taxiway N just yesterday to see that crazy terrain shift in the taxiway. That was the first time in sim that I had actually seen something like that at an airport. I mean, it's not uncommon to see some slight changes in terrain, some mild hills. Certainly the runways aren't on flat ground anymore, and they can certainly have elevation to them. But nothing like what appeared yesterday, so it just so caught me off guard. I'm like, what in the world is going on? And I knew that we're probably going to have problems getting the plane to go up that sharp of an incline. It hadn't even dawned on me until we had actually crashed a wing into the ground that that was probably more what was going to happen. And the other thing, I was getting so frustrated yesterday with the grounds crew, and once again notice that there are, I'm going a little fast here, let me slow down. Once again we have vehicles on the taxiway, and they won't get out of your way. They'll stop, which I guess that's positive that they'll stop, but you will have to come to a complete stop, and they'll either elect to back up or to go through you. So if we look outside here, let me just get in position. So this little forklift operator is, I don't know what he's going to do, right? Hopefully he's just going to turn and get out of the way. He knows I can't go anywhere. I get the impression that the sim is having them stop in case you're like passing in front of them, which that makes sense, but it doesn't handle a head-on scenario. It seems like long in advance of the plane getting, you know, reaching them, you know, unless they're crossing my path and I'm directed to stop. Right, they should turn more in advance to get out of the way. And there's another truck you can see up there coming to a stop that we're getting ready to roll towards that's, you know, also going to be problematic. So let's move up to that truck and just give them a clue that they need to move it. And then this forklift, I have no idea what this forklift is doing. Now he's stopped on the taxiway again. I really honestly don't want to play this game again, so we're just going to blow right through them, and because they're not going to create an accident, fortunately. So we will just completely disregard them. blow through that one. We're going to blow through this van too, because they've got no business being out here. There's a road over there to the left. Go drive on the road. Why are you on my taxiway? So hopefully that gets fixed here soon enough. It makes me wonder, is that something with the way the airport is laid out, that the you know, the ground vehicles, I mean, they should know where they should and should not drive, and I wouldn't think that a taxiway center line is an appropriate place for them to be driving around the airport. What do I know? I don't know. Anyway, watch our speed again, going a little bit fast here, but already we can see further down taxiway N, and we have a level taxiway, which is great. I was so excited to get the Stuttgart add-on airport. I couldn't wait to get in here and actually make this video from Stuttgart. Love this airport. So nice to see that it wasn't a problem from Just Sim. I guess I owe an apology to Just Sim. I was a bit presumptuous that it was related to something that they had done within the sim, and honestly I should have known better. There's been enough conflicts with add-ons and various things that you know, Asobo and Microsoft are at the point now, whenever you do an upgrade to the simulator, any add-on content really is recommended to be removed. So should be definitely the first go-to area to try and figure out what's going on inside the sim. Anyway, again, we're traveling down to the taxiway pretty fast here, slowing down a little bit as we get down towards our entry to runway 25. Looks like the rain has come back a little bit, so this heavy rain is on again, off again in the Stuttgart region. (5,000 feet is our initial cleared altitude. Slow down here just a little bit. Alright, full stop here. We'll get set up for takeoff first, just because we really shouldn't be sitting here for too long. We'll assume that we're cleared for takeoff. We're getting our takeoff light turned on. All the other lights are turned on. I'm going to turn a strobe on since we're so close to the runway. All the other lights situated. Go down here and get our TCAS set for traffic avoidance and resolution. Everything else is good. We should be ready to go. We've already notified the cabin. Cabin says it's ready. Landing lights are on. Good to go. So at this point, we'd be moving out to the runway, but we're going to run through whatever Flight Crew A320 wants us to do. Now we'll press forward, so release the brakes, get ourselves into position for takeoff. Alright, so we should be set, ready for takeoff. Everything is good to go. We are in position on the center line. We're going to go ahead and spool the engines up to 50% and start our takeoff roll. Looks like we have parameters stabilized. Now we'll go up to flex for our takeoff.
Thrust set.
We are at the flex detente. Keep center line. 80 knots. 100 knots.
100 knots. Check.
Oh, getting a little wind here.
V1.
V1. Rotate.
Rotate. Positive climb.
Positive climb. Gear up. Thrust reduction. Drop the nose, let the plane accelerate. Into the pea soup. Flaps retracted. And we should look good. We'll go to autopilot.
DP1.
Check.
Go down here and disarm our ground spoiler for takeoff. Flaps are already retracted. It's good to go. We'll get our landing gear takeoff lights turned off. Looks like we just got an alert of some kind. Anti-ice detected, so we need to get engine anti-ice on. So we'll do wing and anti-ice. That is situated. Seatbelt signs are still on. Landing lights are still on to at least 10,000 feet. 5,000 feet is our transition altitude. Take a look outside. You can see the wing and the nose of the plane have the exaggerated ice effect on them. Five 5,000 feet was our initial climb altitude. We should continue our climb up to 28,000 feet. Take a look at the standard instrument departure. We're getting out. We're nearing the 16 nautical miles away from the airport. So we're going to continue our climb up to 28,000 feet. We'll go back into aircraft here. Start to push up. We'll do an initial climb up to 16,000 feet.
After takeoff, climb checklist.
Landing gear. Up. Flaps.
track.
Pax.
On.
Down to the line.
Below the line.
Barrel ref.
Standard set.
Standard set. After takeoff checklist complete.
So that was a good one. So at 5,000 feet, we were changing over to standard barometric pressure, transition altitude 5,000 feet. I missed that step, so the checklist came in handy there in that regard. Climbing through 10,000 feet, we will go up and turn off our takeoff lights here. Looks like they got turned off for us, or I never did them fully on. That's interesting. Not sure about that. Nonetheless, they are off right now. So here we are, making our way for Charles de Gaulle International Airport, just flew out of Stuttgart. We are approaching the end of our SID and transitioning to our flight plan, climbing to our cruise altitude of 28,000 feet. Widen out our navigation display here a little bit so we can see further ahead. I love the cloud effects. A little loud, look at just how realistic the clouds appear to be. The different levels in the clouds. Look at this little connection here between the cloud layers. Incredibly real looking. Approaching 16,000, we'll continue our climb up to 28,000 for today's cruise. Probably don't need the VOR on, even though we didn't in fact even use it. I didn't see any indication at all as far as a line indicator on the navigation display with regard to the course heading we had set against that VOR. So I don't think that's been fully implemented. We don't need the flight control page to be on. Engines, everything's in the green. Oil, everything's green, no issues. Looks like it's comfortable on the flight deck and in the cabin. Outside temperature is minus 34 degrees Celsius as far as the static temperature goes, and with the movement of the aircraft, the compressed air against the aircraft sitting at minus 17, certainly below the minus 10 range for us to have anti-ice on, so obvious call there. We'll let the anti-ice continue to run as long as we are minus 10 or below that with the total air temperature outside the aircraft. Looks like we are entering some more clouds here a little bit. Let's see what the flight crew A320 has next. It indicates cruise, you have control.
You have control.
I have control.
Cruise, I have control.
I have control.
You have control.
Not sure what that just did, but everything appears to still be normal. Nothing's changed. So now we are set for our approach checklist. Well, this was a little bit of a crazy departure from Stuttgart International. Certainly a little more exciting than I had anticipated it would be, with our crash to desktop that we had, with setting up the weather on the navigation display. That was the first crash, and then running into the craziness on taxiway N with the terrain being completely out of whack and causing us to put a wing into the ground and crash the aircraft. But we were able to work through that. We are now climbing to our cruise altitude of 28,000 on our way to Charles de Gaulle International Airport. Probably a great time to stop this video. Hopefully it didn't get too long. I do appreciate you watching. Definitely come back for part 2 of this flight to Charles de Gaulle for hopefully a less eventful descent and approach into Charles de Gaulle Airport. I'm Liam Locke, this is Aircraft Adventures, and I do appreciate you watching. We will see you for part 2. Thanks. Bye.